there, Photo Universe. So K3 review, and I got a few things to say. There's not that much to say because that's what happens when something is pretty much the end product of a long evolutionary chain, and each time they come out with the same thing, they're perfecting it. This isn't a new camera, so to speak. It's a continuation of the K5 series. It's really what it is. It's a K5 tweaked. So so basically, maybe that helps understand what kind of review, how to understand this camera. It's a K5 with a new sensor, 23 megapixel sensor, and a new AF unit that's up to Canon and Nikon standards. And it's a new flash metering system and a new metering system with a few minor revisions to the handling and interface, but it's still that brilliant K5 interface. And we no longer have the hardware glitch for the flash, so you get overexposed shots randomly with bounce and whatever. That was crazy. So you really can't use K5s, K5.2s with TTL. The TTL on the K5s was worthless, the whole series. K5, K5.2, K5.2s. When I was shooting weddings with K5s, now I'm using I still use the K5.2s and K5 for weddings, but I use the K3 with TTL, all with my METs. Like I can finally use the METs on TTL and not the A mode. If you have a flash that has an A mode and you're running a K5, no problem, run the A mode. And then you'd have to set the aperture, set it to manual, set the aperture, set the shutter speed, set the ISO, set the flash, and it'll automatically give you the right aperture. TTL is a little bit easier, obviously, because whatever the camera's set to, that's what the exposure you're going to get. So I kind of dived into it. That's pretty much the review of the K3. But let me go into a little detail here. So what's the big news over the K5 2 and 2S is the 23 megapixels. Yeah, not so much. There's really no difference. The 16 megapixel sensor was enough, and this is just a little bit better, and nobody's ever going to see the difference. And if anybody complaining about high ISO noise and all this ridiculous stuff, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's so splitting hairs. It's a little bit more resolution, a little bit less high ISO. I mean, but you'll never see it, so don't worry about it. There's people freaking out over this camera over nothing, okay? The two most important factors if you get yourself a K3 are this. Number one, it comes from the factory with high ISO noise reduction set to auto. Get it off of there. You will randomly experience all your detail blown out of your images because the auto mode will do that. High ISO noise reduction, set it to off. You don't need it. You can shoot this camera up to 3200 and the noise is not really a problem. So, and honestly, if noise is a problem for you, deal with it in post-processing. If you're shooting 3200, I mean, okay. And the second thing is the autofocus is a new system, and it's really nice. It's much faster. I believe it's up to the Canon Nikon standards. I believe that Pentax is still more weighted towards accuracy than speed. So for the longest time, the Pentax camera autofocus was weighted to accuracy over speed. However, having said that, they were a generation behind in terms of total overall performance. I think now we're real close to Canon Nikon level in this level of camera. I'm talking 7D, D7200, 7100, whatever Nikon's at, the D300, that kind of autofocus. I think the Pentax autofocus system is as good as, may even be better in low light. These things will focus in light I can't see in, and they'll do it quickly. And the K5.2S will also, K5.2. Original K5, not a chance. Okay, we was doing a wedding a few months back, had the original K5 out there and the K5.2S, and you'd go to take a shot in the dance floor was dark. You know, you'd go to take a shot with the flash on both cameras. You go to take a shot with the K5, you push the button and you wait and you wait and you wait, and it focuses and it goes off. And it's like the dancers are already gone. You get the K5.2S out there, same rig, same setup pretty much, and you push the button, it takes the shot. That's a big deal, okay? And the K3 is only as good as or better than. So, okay, what was I getting at? The second thing coming from the factory that you should deal with is that there's a new autofocus system, and it comes by default set to AF Auto, AFA. The problem with that is that the computer can be fooled and go into continuous. So what's happening with AFA, it's choosing between AF single shot and AF continuous shot. And the computer can be fooled into thinking that something's moving coming at it and go into continuous shot and will release focused on nothing. Okay? So at least like what I'm trying to get at here, and so you will randomly experience completely blurry images, and you won't be able to explain it. You'll be like, how'd that happen? Okay? There was some issues in the beginning, you know, as the word gets out, people are setting their cameras, high ISO noise reduction off, AF to AFS, and all of a sudden all the problems have gone away. You don't hear any noise about the K3 being not sharp anymore as the word gets out. So yeah, in AF continuous mode, you know, you go to take a shot, the camera will release if it's not focused on anything. The idea there is if something's coming with you, it's going to just keep moving and keep shooting, right? It's kind of like a shooting priority versus a focus priority. You know, if you take a shot in AFS, the shutter won't release unless the camera is focused on something in the frame. And so there's a situation where if everything's blurry, but this little tree stump over here is sharp, you say to yourself, oh, yeah, look at that, the focus missed, right? Okay, but in AFC, if everything in the frame is blurry, that kind of freaks you out. It's kind of like, well, what happened there? Now, if you're in AFC and you know that, and you chose that, and it happened, you know, it's explainable. But it's not. The thing that was freaking people out with the K3 was this random blurriness with no real explanation. So, okay, those are the two things from the factory that kind of gotchas. All right. Do all that and go take pictures. This is the best body that Pentax has made for the K-mount lenses. Done. Seriously. It's fast. It's Canon, Nikon level. The metering. So what are the highlights? The metering is beautiful. The auto white balance is the best I've used in any camera. And the focus, the autofocus is on the ball. So I can't say anything bad about the camera, except for there is one thing that kind of not makes me upset, but it's, you need to know it. Okay, one thing that's cool, it's so close to the K5s that that your lens plates, if you have Arca Swiss lens plates, will fit. My L bracket from the K7, K5, K5 II fits the K3. Brilliant. I was hoping, I picked up the battery grip, and I was hoping that my plate for the bottom of my battery grip, Mephisto, they're from Korea, they make parts, these plates, does not fit the battery grip from the K3, does not fit the K5. From the K5 battery grip to the K3 battery grip, it doesn't transfer over. The shape is different enough so that the plates don't fit. So until they come out with, now maybe Mephisto, whatever the name of that company is, comes out with a K3 battery grip plate, there is no plate for the K3 battery grip. But the L brackets and everything else for the body work just fine. So that's really the only criticism I have. Ricoh did an excellent job of bringing the K5 series with the handling and the ergonomics and the feel and the solidity and the weatherproofing and everything we love about the K5 series. They brought it up to Canon, Nikon performance standards. And, you know, it's there. Do we really need the 23 megapixel sensor? No. Is it terrible? No. It's excellent. The auto white balance is excellent. So that's all nitpicking. You know, any modern DSLR is better than any film medium format camera today. So what the hey, right? And even non-DSLRs, even all those Fujis and everything. So, you know, if you're getting bad pictures, it's not the camera, it's not the sensor, it's people are, I think why people are freaking out about stuff like that, there's nothing really to complain about anymore. Okay, this camera, the screen on the back is gorgeous. That huge 2x3 screen. So the handling is brilliant. The flash metering is up to scratch now. Finally, it's Canon, Nikon level flash metering. I'm using the Metz 58 AF2s and they're working great. I love it. And here's a little anecdotal story. So as everybody knows, I've been kind of enamored with the Fuji system over Christmas and picked up a bunch of Fuji stuff and I've been shooting with that a lot and been enjoying it, getting some great images, really getting fired up about being a photographer again and not a graphic artist in Photoshop. And so the other night we were going out to dinner. I said, you know what, I'm going to bring my K3 with my Tamron 17-50 just like this, and I'm going to set it to JPEG, and I'm going to shoot this the way I've been shooting the Fujis. Just, you know, Fuji kind of makes you shoot a certain way, which is very enjoyable. And I said, you know, I'm going to shoot my K3 and my 17-50 that way. I'm going to go out and just play and have a good time and enjoy it. And I started taking pictures, and it was like, whoa, that's different, because I got used to the Fuji. And what was different was I would like go to take up, and I'm talking about no flash, ISO 2400, 2500, total darkness, ISO 3200, just the same stuff I've been screwing around with the Fuji. And I hit the button and it would be like, bam, focus, take the shot. And I go again, bam, focus, take the shot. I mean, it was like right now, you know, and I was like, holy smokes, this just felt so fast. And then I realized it's because the Fujis, although they're not, like the X Pro 1 is a little lethargic. All right, even with all the new firmware and everything, the thing's on vacation. There is a delay. You go to take the shot and there's a hesitation. All right, the XE2, the X100S, the XE2 is better, much better. And the X100S is even better, a little bit better than the XE2. But they're not this, okay? So, you know, this is like, boom. It's like you push the button, you go to take the shot. It's like now, it's instant. And the Fujis are a little bit on vacation. They're a little bit more relaxed. The XE2, X100, no problem, fine. But the X Pro 1, yeah, that could use some updating. But that's why you may want to choose a K3 or a DSLR over something else like a rangefinder Fuji. Although they're getting better all the time, they're still not this super level, so you know, the super fast, like instant response. When you're shooting the Fujis, the X Pro 1, I notice it. The XE2, the X100S, not so much. Don't really notice it. They're fast enough. This is, but when you're A/Bing them, when you're shooting one and you're shooting the other, it's like, oh man, this is faster, much faster. And that's with the Tamron 17-50. So if you are only going to have one system, if you're going to buy into the Pentax system, if you say to yourself, you know, which body should I get, and you're serious about being a photographer and you want to have the good equipment that you're not going to outgrow, get the K3. No questions asked. It's got the flash metering, the average white balancing, the automatic white balancing, brilliant. It's all just really good. Canon, Nikon standards, the standouts, I think the auto white balancing is the best I've used. And the ergonomics, just the handling, the interface on the Pentax is just wonderful. It's such a pleasure to use this camera. You don't, manual not needed. But then again, I've been using the K5s for a while now, and this handles just like those. If you have a K5 2S, I don't know. If you're running a wedding business and you're running K5 2Ss and you're shooting A mode, which pretty much the only way, or fighting TTL, get K3s. That's the, you know, then absolutely. If you got a K5 2S and you're doing landscapes and stuff, or even anything else, and it's working for you, and you don't really have any problems with it, and you're not having flash problems, no reason to upgrade. Quite honestly, seriously. So the K5 2S is great. From the K5 II and the original K5. The original K5, definitely I would prefer a K5 II or K5 2S over the original K5s. The original K5s are a couple generations behind. They're kind of like the X Pro ones. They're great. I've learned how to use them for video. That's what I use my K5 for now. It's become my video camera. It works. I've dialed it all in. I've been using it so much. I know how to get it to work. If I had a K5 2S, I don't know. It'd be hard to you know. And I was happy with that. And I didn't want the flash metering and those other metering things. Yeah, maybe, you know, I would stick with the K5 2S. The K5 2, get a K5 2S or K3. If you're just buying into the system, get a K3. Don't mess around. It's a great camera. But you know what? Even if you have a K5, if it's image quality wise, we're really not talking about much of a difference. If really what it comes down to is if you're shooting a K5 and you're happy with it and you're getting the image quality you're looking for out of it, you're not gaining anything. You've already got that great interface. You're not hitting upon any of the small little things that have changed in the series. Be happy, right? Be happy with what you got. We're at the point now where we're talking minutia. You know, now if you're shooting a K20D or something with a 10 megapixel or 12 megapixel sensor, you know what? The K5, K5 2S, that series, if you don't do a lot of flash work, yeah, the 16 megapixel sensor was a sweet, sweet sensor. The 23 megapixel sensor in the K3, I'm not sure is as sweet a sensor as the 16 megapixel was. The 16 megapixel sensor, when Pentax switched to that, that was a winner. I mean, there was no question about it. That was a great sensor. This 23 megapixel sensor in the K3, it's not bad. It's not a bad sensor. But I don't think it's, I mean, the 16 megapixel sensor in the K5 2S has kind of become a legendary sensor. I'm not sure this Sony sensor in the K3 is going to become legendary. It's serviceable, it's competent, it's not like that Samsung sensor in the K7, which was kind of doggy from what I've heard. I've never personally shot one. No offense to the photo puppy. But the Sony sensor in this, it's good. Nikon went with the Toshiba 23 megapixel sensor, and from what I understand, that's a better sensor. I haven't shot it, I don't know. You know, and again, we're talking by nth degrees here. You know, would I want to put up with a Nikon interface to shoot the Toshiba? So not a chance. Not a chance. You can do anything you want with these cameras. They're that good. Any of them. Pick the one you like and go shoot. And don't obsess over these minor details. Did Ricoh get anything wrong in this? No, they did. They really walked that fine line between not screwing up what was great about the K5 series and yet finally making it competitive with Canon and Nikon and not a generation behind. The only two caveats to that would be going with that AFA as the default setting. AFS is a much better default setting, and going with that high ISO noise reduction set to auto. Those are two things that just kind of really wig people out. So other than that, what can I tell you? It's the best K-mount camera ever made. That's my opinion, and I've had, what, 16 Pentax film and digital cameras up to this point that I've shot with, and Canons and Nikons, and then on and on and on. So, yeah, the K3 is a winner. I just wish that the support was there for it. In terms of like those camera plates, I wish that the battery grip had a camera plate for it. And seriously, if anybody finds a battery grip Arca Swiss plate for the K3 BDG battery grip D5 or whatever it is, the battery grip 5 for the K3, let me know. Let me know in the comments or something. So, because that would be cool to have. So that's it. Yeah, absolutely. Love the Fujis. Really enjoy shooting with those. Loving the K3. Really enjoy shooting with that too. But it's a different animal. You know, when you're walking around the streets with this, or you're in a restaurant or something, you whip this out. All of a sudden, they think that you're part of the health department or something. I always feel, and I don't know if they think that or not. They might not think that at all. But when you whip something like this out, it's really conspicuous. And if now that's a bonus if you're at a track meet or something and you got your, you know, and you can get out there because you look like you have a pro camera, because it is a pro camera. But when you have a camera that looks like a serious camera, that's cool in some circumstances, because you know, if you go out there with your little Fuji, even though it can do exactly the same kind of work, they're kind of like, hey, get out of the way, you know, no amateurs, right? So it cuts both ways. But if you're on the street or you're in a restaurant and you want to get some clandestine shots, that's not it, right? So the right tool for the right job. You know, if you have to choose one or the other, figure out what kind of work you do. If you want a general purpose, all one size fits all, get the K3, get the Tamrons, go have a pro career, have a great time. It'll do it all. On the other hand, you know, if you're just want to do more street photography, clandestine photography, where you look like you're not really so Joe Pro, Fuji might be the way to go. You know, if you're blessed, get both, because I'm having a great time with both of them. So, you know, luckily I have the ability to do that, and the justification and the wherewithal right now. So, and that's another thing, you know, people say full frame. Well, there's a photographer, and I'll annotate the website, Mark Kitowak, I believe it's a Japanese name. I apologize, Mark, for your last name. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. He just did a 18 by 80 foot banner on the side of the Symphony building in Dallas, Texas, with an X100S APS-C. So, you know, full frame camera bodies are 2,000, and the lenses are 2,000 a piece, etc., etc. You know, one of the nice things about going APS-C is you can, for the money of one full frame system, you can run a Pentax with some Tamrons, and you can run a Fuji X100S if you want, or a Fuji XE2 with a few lenses, and have the best of both worlds for the same money of full frame. And you know what? You'd be hard, but you can do any kind of commercial work with an APS-C sensor. So I don't know why people are, you know, obsessing and fretting over this full frame. A lot of you pros are saying don't need it, could care less. Heard an interesting argument today for something like an APS-C square sensor. So right, APS-C is 15 by 22 or something. Well, how about taking a camera and building a camera body with a 22 by 22 sensor, so like a Hasselblad, and then you can crop if you want, but you can make square prints, right? And all your lenses, all your APS-C lenses would already have the image circle for it. That's a pretty cool idea. Now that's an interesting idea. You know, and the yield on a square sensor I think is better on the wafers, so it might be cheaper to make. I don't know. So there's lots of possibilities, but you know, you can do the same old, or you can think outside the box a little bit and start getting kind of creative with your equipment. You know, that's why I appreciate Pentax and Ricoh for doing this, for making a K3 that's something different than just Canon and Nikon, which is the same choice, and you know, just they want to sell you a full frame when you don't need it. So I don't think you need it. If you like it, that's great. Rock on, enjoy, shoot away. You know, that's the beautiful thing about living in a free society. Wherever you are, buy whatever you like and shoot whatever you want. But if you want to get into the Pentax system, do it at the K3 level. This is the best. I'll say it again. This is the review of the Pentax K3 in one sentence. The K3, the Pentax K3, is the best DSLR ever made for the K-mount lenses. Done. That's the review. Ed with Photo Universe, thanks for listening, and have a good one. And so far, 2014 has been a lot of fun, and we're, knock on wood, we're enjoying ourselves and having a good time. So that's what it's all about. Be safe, be well, have a good time. We'll see you soon. Bye.